Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar, and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with his British counterpart Boris Johnson in New Delhi. Both leaders decide to do their best to conclude the free trade agreement by the end of this year. Prime Minister Modi welcomes UK's decision to join Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative and also invites to join India's National Hydrogen Mission. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman interacts with the CEOs of Accenture, Deloitte, FedEx and MasterCard in Washington, D.C. Deaf Connect 2.0 is a celebration of the growth of the Indian defence startup ecosystem, says Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates All India Police Science Congress in Bhopal. Precaution dose of COVID vaccine to be available free of cost at government vaccination centres in Delhi from today for all aged between 18 and 59 years. 2 terrorists killed and an assistant sub-inspector of Central Industrial Security Force lost his life in a pre-dawn encounter in Sunjwan cantonment area of Jammu. Earth Day is being observed today. In his message, Prime Minister says Earth Day is about expressing gratitude to Mother Earth for her kindness. In Santosh Trophy football final group encounter, West Bengal to meet Meghalaya at Kottapadi Stadium in Malappuram, while Punjab to face hosts Kerala in Payanad Football Stadium in Manjeri today. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Rajasthan Royals at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said India and United Kingdom have decided to do their best to conclude the free trade agreement by the end of this year. Addressing a joint press briefing following the bilateral talks between his counterpart Boris Johnson in New Delhi, Mr. Modi said the teams of both the countries are working on FTA and good progress is being made in the negotiations.
आज की हमारी बातचीत में आगामी समय के लिए कुछ लक्ष्य भी तय किए। फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट के विषय पर दोनों देशों की टीम्स काम कर रही हैं। बातचीत में अच्छी प्रगति हो रही है और हमने इस साल के अंत तक एफटीए के समापन की दिशा में पूरा प्रयास करने का निर्णय लिया है। हमने रक्षा क्षेत्र में सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमति व्यक्त की है। रक्षा क्षेत्र में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, टेक्नोलॉजी, डिजाइन और डेवलपमेंट सभी क्षेत्रों में यूके द्वारा आत्मनिर्भर भारत के समर्थन का हम स्वागत करते हैं।
Mr. Modi said they decided to deepen the climate and energy partnership and invited UK to join India's National Hydrogen Mission. Mr. Modi said the conclusion of the implementation arrangements of the Global Innovation Partnership today will prove to be a very important initiative.
इसके तहत तीसरे देशों में मेड इन इंडिया इनोवेशंस के ट्रांसफर और स्केलिंग अप के लिए भारत और यूके $100 मिलियन तक को फाइनेंस करेंगे। इनसे सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स की प्राप्ति में और क्लाइमेट चेंज से निपटने के प्रयासों में भी मदद मिलेगी। ये हमारे स्टार्टअप और एमएसएमई सेक्टर के नए मार्केट तलाशने और अपने इनोवेशंस को ग्लोबल करने में बहुत उपयोगी सिद्ध होगा।
Prime Minister Modi welcomed UK's decision to join the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative.
हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक स्तर पर हो रहे अनेक डेवलपमेंट्स पर भी चर्चा की। एक फ्री, ओपन, इंक्लूसिव एंड रूल बेस्ड ऑर्डर पर आधारित इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र बनाए रखने पर हमने जोर दिया। इंडो पैसिफिक ओशन इनिशिएटिव से जुड़ने के यूके के निर्णय का भारत स्वागत करता है।
Both leaders also discussed the developments taking place at the regional and global level. They stressed on dialogue and diplomacy in Ukraine for an immediate ceasefire and resolution of the problem.
हमने सभी देशों की क्षेत्रीय अखंडता और संप्रभुता के सम्मान का महत्व भी दोहराया। हमने एक पीसफुल, स्टेबल और सिक्योर अफगानिस्तान और एक इंक्लूसिव और रिप्रेजेंटेटिव गवर्नमेंट के लिए अपना समर्थन दोहराया। यह आवश्यक है कि अफगान भूमि का प्रयोग अन्य देशों में आतंकवाद फैलाने के लिए नहीं होना चाहिए.
In his statement, the visiting Prime Minister Johnson said the partnership between India and Britain is one of the defining friendships of the times.
Britain is one of the oldest, and India, certainly the largest democracy, is one of the defining friendships of our times. And what we're doing is taking forward an ambitious 10-year roadmap for British-Indian relations that we agreed last year. And it's vital that we deepen our cooperation, including our shared interest in keeping the Indo-Pacific open and free. So today, we've agreed a new and expanded defence and security partnership, a decades-long commitment that will not only forge tighter bonds between us, but support your goal of Make in India.
2 agreements were also exchanged following the bilateral talks. Mr. Johnson arrived in India on a 2-day visit yesterday. He was accorded a ceremonial reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan this morning. Talking to media, Mr. Johnson called it a very auspicious moment in relationship and friendship between India and UK. He said the bilateral ties have never been as good or as strong as they are today. Mr. Johnson also visited Rajghat and laid wreath at the Samadhi of Mahatma Gandhi. This is his maiden visit to India as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on the visiting dignitary. They discussed the expanding partnership and implementing the India-UK Roadmap 2030. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman met Chief Executive Officers of Accenture, Deloitte, FedEx and MasterCard in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. They discussed a range of issues including setting up R&D centers in India, upskilling talent, training and digitization of small businesses, climate action and financial inclusion. During the meeting with the Finance Minister, CEO of multinational IT company Accenture, Julie Sweet backed the Government of India's proactive and transparent approach. Ms. Sweet further noted that the company is increasing its presence in more Tier 2 cities in India and is also focusing on upskilling talent to prepare for emerging opportunities. The Accenture boss also informed Ms. Sitharaman that 47% of their workforce in India comprises women.
The minister is very committed to helping businesses in India. It's just a sign of how much India really works to make sure that they're listening to the business community, that they're supporting the business community and helping us as we continue to invest. We are very fortunate to have the great talent of an amazing group of people, 300,000 in India, and we truly appreciate the government's focus on making India a great place to do business.
Ms. Sitharaman also met the CEO of Deloitte, Puneet Ranjan, and discussed issues like expanding Deloitte's operations to smaller cities in India like Coimbatore and Bhubaneswar. Mr. Ranjan also said that Deloitte has developed tools to improve the access of rural poor to health facilities and also committed for climate action in India.
I just met with the finance minister. It was an excellent meeting. I'm really honored that I got a chance to meet with her. I think India is a very attractive destination. I've said this many times. I believe this to be India's century.
During his meeting with the finance minister, FedEx president and CEO-elect Raj Subramaniam mentioned that he has significant expansion plans, including in skilling. FedEx is also looking at R&D centers in India.
In the last meeting we had talked about the national logistics policy, and it was heartwarming to see that she made the national logistics policy as a key part of the budget. Logistics is a very important consideration, especially as Make in India and manufacturing in India is a strategy for the market, and logistics plays a very important role in that. We have great opportunities for FedEx to grow in India and also set up centers in India to support the entire enterprise. And
Ms. Sitharaman also met the CEO of MasterCard, Michael, who told the finance minister that MasterCard has set up huge data centers in India and is focused on training and digitization of small businesses. The finance minister talked about the government's commitment to digital financial inclusion with focus on women and MSEs through world-class and indigenously developed technology solutions. She also talked about using lessons from India's financial inclusion programs to develop global solutions.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said DevConnect 2.0 is a celebration of the growth of the Indian defence startup ecosystem. He mentioned that this is the culmination of the success of his ministry's initiative, Innovation for Defence Excellence, IDEX. Mr. Singh highlighted IDEX has so far assisted in developing and processing a number of nascent and in-house technologies. Saying DevConnect 2.0 and IDEX are extremely important, Mr. Singh emphasized that any new technology is very costly in the beginning and its adoption is voluntary for any society.
ये हमारे इनिशिएटिव इनोवेशन फॉर डिफेंस एक्सेलेंस यानी आईडेक्स की सफलता का एक विशाल बहुत बड़ा इंडिकेटर है। आईडेक्स ने अब तक अनेक न्यूली बॉर्न और होम ग्रोन टेक्नोलॉजी को विकसित होने और आगे बढ़ने में मदद की। इसने स्टार्टअप्स के लिए इनोवेशन और टेक्नोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट को प्रदर्शित करने का एक महत्वपूर्ण मंच भी प्रदान किया है। इसके साथ ही डिफेंस सेक्टर में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ऑगमेंटेड रियलिटी, ब्लॉकचेन टेक्नोलॉजी, स्पेस टेक्नोलॉजी जैसे फ्यूचरिस्टिक टेक्नोलॉजी को भी हमारे साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोफेशनल्स को अच्छी तरह से जानने, उसे समझने और उनका एक्सपीरियंस लेने का एक अवसर यह आईडेक्स में ही उपलब्ध कराया है।
Mr. Singh was speaking at the inaugural function of the DevConnect in New Delhi. The Defence Minister also launched Defence India Startup Challenge, i.e. DISC 6. The Defence Minister said recently the Defence Acquisition Council has approved the purchase of 14 items worth 380 crore rupees from IDEX startups. IDEX has introduced more than 100 IDEX winners to the market so far. More than 187 crore 26 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Health Ministry said more than 18 lakh doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 2,451 new cases were reported in the country. India's active case load currently stands at 14,241 and it is 0.03%. The recovery rate is currently at 98.75%.
The Delhi government has said precaution dose for COVID will be available free to all eligible beneficiaries aged between 18 and 59 years in all government vaccination centres. All those who are more than 18 years of age and have completed 9 months after the administration of second dose will be eligible for the precaution dose. In a statement, the government said the provision of paid precaution dose in private COVID vaccination centres will also continue. It said necessary changes in Co-Win have been made for Delhi, where both online and walk-in appointment will be available. Recently, Union Health Ministry had launched administration of precaution dose to 18-plus population through private vaccination centres. The Supreme Court today rejected the bail plea of Maharashtra Cabinet Minister and NCP leader Nawab Malik in relation with a money laundering case. A bench of Justices D.Y. Chandrachud and Suryakant said that it will not interfere with the Bombay High Court order of 15th March. The court, however, said Malik can avail and remedy available under the law before the trial court.
In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists were killed and an assistant sub-inspector of Central Industrial Security Force lost his life in a pre-dawn encounter in Sunjwan cantonment area of Jammu today. At least 7 security personnel were also injured in the gunfight. Jammu Additional Director General of Police Mukesh Singh said that acting on inputs about the movement of terrorists in the area, the security forces launched a cordon and search operation. He said that the terrorists were seemingly planning a Fidaiin attack. The ADGP informed that 2 AK-47 rifles, arms and ammunition, satellite phones and other incriminating material was recovered from the encounter site. Mobile internet services have been snapped and schools closed for the day in the area as a precautionary measure. The encounter is still underway.
BJP today criticized the Punjab government over alleged illegal detention and torture of a backward class widow in Sangarur district. Party spokesman Guru Prakash Paswan questioned the silence of AAP and Punjab government over the incident. He demanded immediate action in the matter.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with his British counterpart Boris Johnson in New Delhi. Both leaders decide to do their best to conclude the free trade agreement by the end of this year. Prime Minister Modi welcomes UK's decision to join Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative and also invites to join India's National Hydrogen Mission. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman interacts with the CEOs of Accenture, Deloitte, FedEx and MasterCard in Washington, D.C. DEF Connect 2.0 is a celebration of the growth of the Indian defense startup ecosystem, says Defense Minister Rajnath Singh. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates All India Police Science Congress in Bhopal. Precaution dose of COVID vaccine to be available free of cost at government vaccination centres in Delhi from today for all aged between 18 and 59 years. Two terrorists killed and an assistant sub-inspector of the Central Industrial Security Force lost his life in a pre-dawn encounter in Sunjwan cantonment area of Jammu today. Earth Day has been observed today. In his message, Prime Minister says, Earth Day is about expressing gratitude to Mother Earth for her kindness. In the Santosh Trophy football final group encounter, West Bengal to meet Meghalaya at the Kotapati Stadium in Mallapuram, while Punjab to face host Kerala in the Payanad Football Stadium in Manjeri today. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Rajasthan Royals at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai this evening. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
Welcome back to the Midday News on All India Radio. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has said that, as envisaged by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, coordination and cooperation between the police systems of all the states is necessary for smart policing. Addressing the 48th All India Police Science Congress organized by the Bureau of Police Research and Development today at the Central Police Training Academy, Bhopal, Mr. Shah said there is a need of knowledge-based, evidence-based and a rational police system in the country. Only then the crimes of the new era can be dealt with effectively. The Union Home Minister said that new dimensions like cybercrime and narcotics have been added to the world of crime. So even after being a state subject, there should be coordination and uniformity among the police personnel of all the states.
हमारे संविधान में आंतरिक सुरक्षा को राज्यों का विषय माना गया है। जब संविधान था तब से लेकर आज तक देश के अपराध और देश के पुलिस के सामने बहुत बड़ी चुनौती आई। अपराध की दुनिया में बहुत नए नए आयाम भी जुड़ गए और कुछ चीजें ऐसी उभर कर आई है जिसमें देश भर की पुलिस को एक वाक्यता के साथ काम करना पड़ेगा, एक दूसरे के साथ सामंजस्य से काम करना पड़ेगा, अन्यथा आप इस चुनौतियों का सामना नहीं कर सकते।
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan also addressed the program. The Home and Cooperation Minister will also attend the Conference of Forest Committees and Dividend Distribution Program to the Tendupatta collectors at Jamburi Maidan in Bhopal this afternoon. Mr. Shah will also start the process of transformation from forest village to revenue village. The program will be broadcast through a webcast in more than 15,000 villages of the state. Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra urged members of the Indian community to register as overseas voters. He also told the NRI community that extension of electronically transmitted postal ballot system facility to overseas voters is being contemplated. A delegation led by Mr. Chandra visited South Africa and Mauritius. During this visit, a series of meetings were held with the Election Commission of South Africa and Mauritius, as well as interactions with the large NRI community in the two countries.
Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Dr. L. Murugan, today visited All India Radio Station in Bhopal. Interacting with officers and employees, the minister said that the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has played an important role in promoting rural development. Speaking about DD Free Dish, he said that it has emerged as an important medium of education, information and entertainment. Speaking about the news on AIR app, he said that its popularity is increasing day by day among the general public. The World Earth Day has been observed today. The event is observed on April 22nd every year to demonstrate support for environmental protection. It marks the anniversary of the birth of the modern environmental movement in 1970. The main theme for 2022 is Invest in a Planet. A report.
In 1969, at a UNESCO conference in San Francisco, peace activist John McConnell proposed a day to honor the earth and the concept of peace to first to be observed on March 21st, 1970, the first day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. This Day of Nature's equipoise was later sanctioned in a proclamation written by McConnell and signed by Secretary General U Thant at the United Nations. In 1990, Dennis Hayes, the original national coordinator in 1970, organized events in 141 nations. On Earth Day 2016, the landmark Paris Agreement was signed by 123 countries. This signing satisfied a key requirement for the entry into force of the historic draft Climate Protection Treaty adopted by consensus of the 195 nations present at the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Paris. Now the fight for a clean environment continues with increasing urgency as the ravages of climate change became more and more apparent every day. Aarti Rana, News Desk.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has called upon people to put in concerted efforts to reverse the damage caused to the planet. In a tweet, Mr. Naidu said, "This year's theme, Invest in a Planet, reminds everyone to strive harder to protect the environment so that we can pass on a greener and safer planet to future generations." Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that Earth Day is about expressing gratitude to Mother Earth for her kindness. He reiterated his commitment to care for the planet.
And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News, Birth of a Nation.
India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On the 22nd of April 1930, revolutionary freedom fighters battled the British forces in the Jalalabad hills near Chittagong.
Breaking the myth that the British were invincible, Master Surya Sen, with his team of revolutionaries, liberated his hometown from British rule. On the night of 18th of April 1930, Surya Sen and his Indian Republican Army attacked the British strongholds and captured them, thus almost effectively paralyzing the British administration in Chittagong.
A team led by Anantlal Singh and Ganesh Ghosh, along with Mastada, captured the reserve police lines at Dampara. On the other hand, a team led by Ambika Chakravarti and a woman revolutionary, Preetilata Vaddedar, cut off the telegraph and telephone lines. Thus, the communication of Chittagong was severed from the rest of India.
Another team, led by young Jugantar member Lal Mohan Sen, uprooted the Nangal-Kot railway line, effectively destroying chances of any source of help for the British forces. Mastada and his fellow revolutionaries then assembled at the reserve police lines and hoisted the Indian flag, declaring the formation of a provisional revolutionary government. Thus, Chittagong was free for 4 days from the British Raj.
But soon, the British sent reinforcement by road. In the ensuing battle, many revolutionary freedom fighters were martyred, including Harigopal, Bidhu Bhattacharya, Nirmal Lala, Naresh Rai and Prabhash Bal. Ambika Chakravarti and Binod Bihari Chaudhary were gravely injured. General Loknath, like a wounded tiger, exhorted his comrades, "Fire until the machine guns are completely silent."
The brave sons of the soil fought an honorable battle to the last. The saga of the revolutionaries could be summarized in the lines of the famous poet Faiz Ahmad Faiz.
जिस धज से कोई मक्तल में गया, वो शान सलामत रहती है। ये जान तो आनी जानी है, इस जान की तो कोई बात नहीं।
22nd April is also the death anniversary of freedom fighter Bishambar Dayal, who died in 1931.
Bishambar Dayal was born in Alwar district of Rajasthan in 1893. Right from his initial days, he was committed to the national cause, and that is why he didn't marry in his lifetime. At a young age of 19 years, Bishambar entered into the revolutionary freedom movement to free the motherland from the shackles of British tyranny.
He was also involved in bombing Viceroy Hastings in Delhi in 1912. Because of this incident, Bishambar came into the eyes of the British government.
Bishambar became a member of the Revolutionary Socialist Party and came into contact with Chandrasekhar Azad and Bhagat Singh. It was during this period Chandrasekhar Azad visited Bishambar Dayal and learned bomb making and other activities from him.
He was planning to rescue Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru, but before any plan could be implemented, Bishambar was arrested. He was tried in the Delhi conspiracy case and sent to jail. In jail, he was tortured and he succumbed to his injuries on the 22nd of April 1931. AIR News pays tribute to the brave son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
The World Bank has said that an early estimate shows physical damage to Ukraine's buildings and infrastructure from the conflict had reached roughly $60 billion. World Bank President David Malpass said yesterday that the estimate does not include growing economic costs of the conflict. The amount will continue to rise as the Russian military operation goes on. In his virtual address to the conference, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also said that the country needed an estimated $7 billion per month to make up for its economic losses now and hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild all this later. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is among 5 people named yesterday as recipients of the John F. Kennedy Profile in Courage Award for acting to protect democracy. The John F. Kennedy Library Foundation said that he was chosen because of the way he has marshaled the spirit, patriotism and untiring sacrifice of the Ukrainian people in a life or death fight for their country.
In the Santosh Trophy football final group encounter, West Bengal will meet Meghalaya today at the Kotapadi Stadium in Mallapuram at 4 p.m, while Punjab will face host Kerala in the Pioneer Football Stadium in Manjeri at 8 p.m. Yesterday, Karnataka defeated defending champion Services 1-0 in a Group B clash of the National Championship in Manjeri. In another encounter, Manipur beat Gujarat by 2-0 at the Kotapadi Stadium in Mallapuram. In IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Rajasthan Royals at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai at 7:30 p.m. today. Last night, Chennai Super Kings defeated Mumbai Indians by 3 wickets at the Dr. D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai.
In Kerala, scattered rain accompanied by lightning and thunderstorms is likely to continue for the next 5 days. Several areas including Thiruvananthapuram have received isolated rains from last evening. Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. National capital Delhi is having generally partly cloudy sky. Mumbai is expected to have mainly clear sky. Chennai is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Kolkata is likely to have partly cloudy sky. Srinagar is likely to have partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm, while Jammu is expected to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with his British counterpart Boris Johnson in New Delhi. Both leaders decide to do their best to conclude the free trade agreement by the end of this year. Prime Minister Modi welcomes UK's decision to join Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative and also invites to join India's National Hydrogen Mission. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman interacts with the CEOs of Accenture, Deloitte, FedEx and MasterCard in Washington, D.C. Dev Connect 2.0 is a celebration of the growth of the Indian defence startup ecosystem, says Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates All India Police Science Congress in Bhopal. Precaution dose of COVID vaccine to be available free of cost at government vaccination centres in Delhi from today for all aged between 18 and 59 years. 2 terrorists killed and an assistant sub-inspector of CISF lost his life in a pre-dawn encounter in Sunjwan cantonment area of Jammu. And in IPL cricket, Delhi Capitals will take on Rajasthan Royals at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai this evening. And with that, we end the midday news.